What's up guys, Matt Laidlaw here, coming to you from Laidlaw's Harley-Davidson, LA area's oldest, largest, and finest Harley-Davidson dealership. So today I'm going to be doing a review and a test ride on the FreeWheeler. This is the sportier version of the Tri-Glide. This bike first debuted in 2015, so if you want something a little bit more sleek, minimalist, this is kind of the trike that you're going to want to go with. Alright guys, so let's jump right into this thing. So this is a 2017 Trike FreeWheeler. Not to be mistaken with a three-wheeler, but a FreeWheeler. Kind of clever play on words there Harley-Davidson did for the name. I like it. So here I roll up, first gear, kill the engine. I'm rolling backwards by just holding the clutch in. And I just release it so the bike just sits there in first gear. Obviously no kickstand, you don't need it. The bike does have a parking brake though. So this is the first year the FreeWheeler has had the Milwaukee 8 engine, of course. The Milwaukee 8 is brand new for the 2017 model year. Right off, I'll just say that this engine powers the FreeWheeler significantly better than the Twin Cam 103 did. You can definitely tell the power increase. That extra torque really helps moving this real heavy, just over 1,000-pound machine here. So here's a shot of the Milwaukee 8. I'll put a link to my video detailing the new Milwaukee 8. But basically you're looking at 4 valves per cylinder, 107 cubic inches, up 4 cubic inches from the previous model year. So the engine, I think, is probably one of the best things about this bike. It powers this heavy motorcycle really well. So the thing that the FreeWheeler does that the Tri-Glide does not, and I'll put a link to my full Tri-Glide video as well. There's two trikes that Harley makes right now. The Tri-Glide, which is a full dresser with everything on it, and this is your slimmed down, minimalist, real sleek trike. So you can put a windshield very easily on this bike. The docking hardware is already on there for you. You literally just buy the windshield and snap it on. This is a big 19-inch front wheel, guys. This is the same front wheel that you're going to see like on the Street Glides and the Road Glides. It's called the Enforcer. These brakes are really good. The front brakes are 6-piston caliper brakes. The braking on this bike is pretty much all in the front, and I'll go more into that in my riding portion of the video. Here is the parking brake, guys. So they just changed this, I want to say, in the 2014 model year. It used to be on the right hand side. It used to be like a little handbrake that looked like an umbrella. I used to tell everybody that it was an umbrella when they asked me what it was, but yeah, the handbrake used to be on the right hand side. You use it with your hand. Now it's on the left. You use it with your foot. So if the bike's in neutral, you're going to want to click that down and put it into park, or turn the parking brake on. So this is a real slim, low profile seat. Everything about the FreeWheeler is all about the sportiness and making it look real sleek. Obviously this tail section's all new. These wheels are unique to the FreeWheeler. A really nice wheel that matches the front rim as well. So you've got these chopped rear fenders. You've got this real cool storage compartment in the back that opens up from the top. I'll show you that in a minute. The dual exhaust coming out the back really looks kind of like a hot rod style look. Pretty nice. This is a great bike for guys that need 3 wheels for whatever reason. There's a bunch of different reasons. Maybe you have some type of a physical ailment where you can't ride a 2-wheel bike, or maybe you just like the trikes. You know, I know some guys that can ride 2 wheels no problem, and they have 2-wheelers and they have 3-wheelers, and they just enjoy the feel of a 3-wheeler and the novelty of a 3-wheeler. Other people just feel more safe on a 3-wheeler. Some people's wives or whatever feel more comfortable in the back with 3 wheels. So you'll see 2 little cutouts there in back of the passenger seat there. Those are 2 little plastic plugs that plug up holes where you can actually install a passenger backrest. So a passenger backrest can be installed very easily on this, as well as a rider backrest. There's a slit in the seat. It acts just like the limiteds and the full dresser bikes, and any of the touring bikes for that matter, where you can slide in a rider backrest. So here's a steering stabilizer. So without this, guys, just because of this 3-wheel design, and this can be said for any trike, the front wheel is going to shimmy back and forth if it doesn't have a stabilizer in there. I've ridden these trikes before without the stabilizer, and going down the freeway, that front wheel, wobbles and shimmies a lot without the stabilizer. But the stabilizer definitely does its job, and this thing's a pretty solid ride. So yeah, it's definitely different than a two-wheeled bike, and I'll kind of comment on that more when I do my riding portion of the video. But yeah, just a real sleek, low-profile, minimalist design here. So here's your knob to open up your storage compartment. So it opens up from the top, kind of a cool design, as opposed to a trap door coming directly off the back like the Tri-Glide. It opens up from the top. Plenty of storage space in there. You have more storage space in here than you do with the saddlebags on a regular touring bike. So both the saddlebags combined don't have as much storage space as this storage area here. So here's some of the contents you get with the bike. They have a specific owner's manual for the trike models, which looks like this here. And you can it has a DVD in there for the braking system. It's hydraulically linked brakes on these, a little bit different than the regular touring bikes. You can get this bike with or without the security. This bike does have the security, so it has the two fobs there that are proximity sensors that cut the ignition when you're beyond about 3 feet from the bike. You got two barrel keys, much like any other Harley, with the exception of the Sportsters. Sportsters still just have the regular key. So yeah, you can lock this back storage compartment here. Just turn the notch from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Locks it up. So this is a lockable storage area. And everything's done with the same barrel key. So the barrel key goes to 3 different locks on the bike. This back storage compartment here, and then the ignition, and then the fork lock as well, which I'll show you in just a minute. So 2 taillights back there above the rear fenders. You got a hydraulic clutch on this bike as well, which is nice. So here's your ignition. So same barrel key will lock your ignition as well. Got the nice FreeWheeler insignia on the center console there. You've also got your little readout of your turn signals and your neutral indicator there. So you can fork lock this bike, turn the bars all the way to the left, just like most of the Harleys, and turn it much like this is kind of like the Road King style, where the fork lock's right there, as opposed to having it on a fob like the fairing models. So there, I've locked the fork. Pretty important to do that because people can just put your bike in gear and push your bike, no problem, much like any other motorcycle. So you're definitely going to want to fork lock it. So the trigger switch I'm pressing here toggles the digital area of your speedometer. So you got your odometer, you have a trip A and a trip B. Hold down the trigger switch to zero those out. The R is how many miles you have before you run out of gas. You have a clock there, and you also have a RPM and gear readout as well, which is nice. So you have a 6-gallon fuel tank. All fuel goes in the right here. 91 octane is what this takes, which is premium. Your octane level or rating will change depending on where you live and what state you live in and whatever. And this is Southern California, Los Angeles area. So 91 octane is considered premium here. So here's the little grommets here that allow for you to mount a windshield on this bike. So let me demo the parking brake here for a minute. So I'm going to put the bike in neutral here, and I'm on a little bit of a slope, so you can see the bike is rolling now. And here's your foot brake. Just click that down and locks the wheels into place. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start this thing up now. Alright, so let's jump into some of the details on this thing. So the bike starts at $26,339. You're about $8,000 less than the full Tri-Glide. Here's a shot of that passenger backrest that I was mentioning earlier, and here's the speaker pods up on the handlebars. These are just parts and accessories that you can put on this bike. So in 2017, on the touring bikes, Harley-Davidson came out with a new suspension this year, and this bike is no exception. It got the new suspension as well. This technology is called the dual bending valve, and it really helps not only with the compression but with the rebound of the front end as well, which definitely smooths out the ride. So here's some colors here. So Vivid Black is the first one that I have in this video. This one is called the Brilliant Silver, and nice deep silver color there. This color here is called Black Quartz. It's like a really dark gray, or almost like a light black that has like a pearl flake in it. Color of quartz, you know, basically, but it's got like some sparkle to it. It looks vivid black at night without the sun, but as soon as you put it in the sunlight, it comes to life. This is called Laguna Orange. This is a brand new color this year. This is what's considered a custom color, so you do pay a premium for this color, and you've got some additional graphics on here as well. That's striping. This color is called Velocity Red. It's kind of a nice like hot rod red. Suits the bike. This is kind of like the hot rod trike. Alright, so let's go to the stat sheet here. So I'm going to compare the FreeWheeler to the Tri-Glide side by side. So we'll start off with the price. So $26,339 for the FreeWheeler and $34,339 for the full dresser Tri-Glide. So you're saving about $8,000 by going with the FreeWheeler, which is considerable. And here's some other prices with coloring. So the security option is an option on the FreeWheeler, but it's standard on the Tri-Glide. You pay $856 as a freight charge on these bikes as well, as opposed to like $435 on just a regular touring bike. So there is a larger freight charge associated with this motorcycle. So you got a 6-gallon fuel tank on both, and the running order weight is 1,096 pounds on the FreeWheeler and 1,230 on the Tri-Glide. So more weight obviously on the Tri-Glide, about 114 pounds. So obviously a big difference here is you've got the infotainment system on the Tri-Glide, and you have no radio whatsoever on the FreeWheeler. So, and everything that comes along with that fairing and that radio, like the GPS, the option to put like Sirius XM radio on there, the Bluetooth capabilities, all that stuff you have on the Tri-Glide, and obviously you have none of that on the FreeWheeler. So FreeWheeler is 43 miles to the gallon and one less for the Tri-Glide. At 3,500 RPM, this thing puts out 110 foot-pounds of torque, and on the Tri-Glide it puts out 113 foot-pounds of torque, and I'm attributing that to the fact that it's water-cooled on the Tri-Glide. So that's a big difference, guys. The Tri-Glide has a twin-cooled engine as opposed to just a regular air oil-cooled engine, Milwaukee 8, on the FreeWheeler. So as you can see here, the Milwaukee 8 107 on the FreeWheeler, and the twin-cooled Milwaukee 8 107 cubic inch on the Tri-Glide. I thought they were able to squeeze that extra power out of a more aggressive compression ratio on the Tri-Glide, but I was wrong. They're both 10-to-1 compression ratios. So you got cast aluminum wheels on both bikes. A little bit different design in the wheels though. You got a 19-inch front wheel in the FreeWheeler, a little bit bigger, sportier looking wheel. The front wheel on the Tri-Glide, I believe, is a 17-inch. So you got six piston front calipers, and you got a single piston floating rear. Braking on this bike, guys, when you hit the rear brakes, like, it doesn't hardly do anything. Everything's all in the front. You got to hit the front brakes. And you got the parking brake on there as well that I pointed out earlier. Alright, so I'm going to take this thing out now. The first few minutes, I think I'm just going to let it run and let you guys hear the engine sound a little bit. I've had a couple comments recently about people just wanting to hear the engine more as I'm running down the highway. So if you get bored, just double tap the right side of the screen and skip ahead a little bit. So when I first got on this bike, I noticed the cruise control switch was broken, and then when I'm sitting here at the light, I was just pumping the clutch and the cruise control button just fell off. I had tried to push it back on there thinking it would stay. It was already broken. So anyways, yeah, I got to replace that. But yeah, the little plastic switch, someone had hit it with their knee or something and broke it off. So let me take a minute and just point out some of the unique characteristics about a trike that I think people should know about before they buy one. Not that they're good or bad, but definitely some real big considerable differences between a trike and a two-wheeler. So first of all, the front end is raked out considerably more. The steering and handling on these is completely different than a two-wheel motorcycle. On a two-wheel motorcycle, you're pretty much just leaning to turn the bike, so you no longer have that leaning on these. It's all just done through the steering. There's no counter steering in these bikes whatsoever. You turn to the right, you go right, turn to the left, you go left. On these bikes, Harley-Davidson decided to use a straight axle design as opposed to independent left and right suspension. There's pros and cons with this. The cons is a lot of the impacts and road imperfections you feel on the left, you feel on the right. When you go up driveways like I'm doing here, you definitely get the back and forth jolt when you're going over like big bumps and uneven pavement and things like that. It's because once again, you don't have an independent left and right like on a car, and so the ride is a little bit rougher than it would be had Harley-Davidson gone with independent left and right. However, the reason they didn't is because, well, there's a couple reasons. For one, the cost and the maintenance is a lot higher on independent left and right. There's a lot more moving parts, and with just a straight axle, simple design, less parts and everything, the maintenance is lower. It's more of a bulletproof design, and really at the end of the day, it's still pretty dang comfortable for a trike. I really have no complaints. I have no problem riding this thing long distances. So I've ridden past model year freewheelers before, and they're always kind of a fun, quick, agile trike. But one of the things that really struck me about this one today, and this is the first time I've ever ridden a 2017 FreeWheeler, is the Milwaukee 8 really does get up and go on these things. And I tried to demonstrate that a minute ago. But yeah, this thing, and I wasn't even close to giving it all it had. This bike hasn't been broken in yet, so I wasn't really cranking on it. But yeah, plenty of power in these things. I mean, the Milwaukee 8 is, especially that low end torque that is so important on a heavier bike like this. The Milwaukee 8, if I didn't know better, I would say that engine was specifically designed for the trike. So this trike does have cruise control. As I mentioned earlier, the switch broke off, unfortunately, right during my test ride. But it works exactly the same as the other touring bikes in the Harley-Davidson world. Basically, when you push the switch in towards the handlebars, there's a little green light that looks like a tachometer on the Speedo that turns orange. It illuminates, and then when you click that switch down to set your speed and activate the cruise control, the light will turn green. While it's green, by clicking the switch up and down, will increase and decrease the set speed by 1 mile increments. Cruise control works very, very well. It's electronic. It's all right on the money. So yeah, I can't say enough good things about that. To the people that might want to argue, well, what do you need cruise control for? On a long ride, let's say you're going from LA to Vegas or something like that, it's a nice thing to have to be able to rest your hand for a little bit. The lighting on this thing isn't anywhere near what the Tri-Glide is. On the Tri-Glide, you've got those 3 LED Daymaker headlamps. On this bike, you just have the halogen headlamp, and so yeah, the illumination on the road at night is not nearly as good, as effective as those big, nice LED lights on the Tri-Glide. So a little bit of a compromise there on the lighting. Something that definitely takes some getting used to on a trike when you first get on one is when you're turning, because it doesn't lean, you get a lot of centrifugal force, especially if you turn sharp at a high speed on this bike. So if you're going fast and all of a sudden you crank it to the right, kind of like I'm doing on this turn, I'm not going that fast, but your body is going to slide real hard to the left. So at first people are going to be like, wow, they feel like, wow, I could fly right off this thing if I turned it hard enough. This sensation, though, is something you get used to really, really quickly. And as you ride the trike more, you kind of become accustomed more to how it reacts, and you soon get over this sensation real quickly. The other thing I should have mentioned earlier is the fuel economy has gone up with the Milwaukee 8 as opposed to the Twin Cam 103. So the Twin Cam 103 was rated at 39 miles to the gallon, and this bike is 43 miles to the gallon, so you got 4 miles to the gallon better on the Milwaukee 8 and more power. So again, then just to reiterate the efficiency of this Milwaukee 8, you got more power and better fuel economy. So yeah, that's something that's pretty dang cool. This bike has passenger floorboards on it, so passengers should be relatively comfortable. There's 2 handles for the passenger to hold on to on this bike as well, and they're going to be holding onto those handles if you start going through turns and things like that for that centrifugal force that I was kind of talking about. It's definitely a good idea to get that backrest that I was talking about at the beginning of the video if you plan on having a passenger. It really helps them remain stable and be a lot more comfortable back there. Without it, this thing can be kind of a buck and bronco back there a little bit, especially if you're going through like twisties real fast. So now on the Tri-Glide, you've got that wraparound backrest that attaches to the tour pack to kind of keep people in place, but you don't have that on the FreeWheeler. So probably a good idea if you plan on riding a passenger at all to get that backrest back there. So I want to touch on some of the other pros of this motorcycle, and I'm taking some of these from a comment that was left on my Tri-Glide review, and the commenter actually made a pretty good point. So this bike is really nice if you are going on roads that have a lot of gravel or bad, like slippery conditions that would otherwise be a road that people might not want to take on a 2-wheeler. Maybe it's icy, maybe it has a bunch of gravel, maybe it's wet. you know, in conditions like that, you never have to worry. This bike is never going to tip over, obviously, because it's got 3 wheels. So, you know, I think a lot of people will look at this bike and be like, oh, is that a bike for people that are handicapped? And no, it's not at all. Although, I mean, it can suit people that have disabilities as well, obviously. But, you know, I have a lot of people buy these bikes that are perfectly physically capable of riding a 2-wheeler. So, yeah, it's different advantages and disadvantages. Obviously, if you live in California, like splitting lanes, you cannot split lanes on this bike. So that's a big turnoff for a lot of people. But, you know, the other thing is if you don't know how to ride a motorcycle, you know, the trike, as long as you know how to use the clutch and shift through the gears, pretty much anybody can jump on one of these trikes and ride. And you don't need a motorcycle license to ride one in the state of California either. I don't know what all the local laws are across the country, but in California, you don't need an M1 endorsement to ride this bike. So, you know, as long as you know how to operate the clutch and the gears, you know, a lot of what you need to learn as far as, you know, the balancing and riding on 2 wheels with a motorcycle doesn't apply to this bike as much. So maybe someone that wants to ride a Harley that doesn't have a whole lot of past motorcycle experience, and maybe they're later on in their life and they just don't want to bother learning how to ride a motorcycle, but maybe you drive a manual transmission car and you understand the premise of a manual transmission, then you probably jump on this and pick it up pretty quickly and ride one of these things and enjoy it. So there's a lot of reasons why people do or do not get a trike. And, you know, I will say, as I was out on the ride today, I had several people give me the token motorcycle wave or acknowledgement. So, you know, on this vehicle, this trike, you're definitely still within the motorcycle community and niche of motor vehicles. So if you want to be part of that scene and have that experience, you know, the trike is definitely a really good alternative to the 2-wheel counterpart. Most of the feel, sound, and enjoyment you get out of a 2-wheel Harley-Davidson, you're going to get out of a trike as well. It has significantly different handling characteristics, but, you know, overall it's still a Harley-Davidson, and it's still a motorbike. So I'm going to go over the reverse with you guys as well real quick here. So this is an important feature that I almost forgot about when I was filming this, but to activate the reverse, you're going to want to put it in neutral. The bike has to be running. Once the bike is running, there's an R above the horn. You hold that down until a yellow R illuminates right there on the speedometer, right above the digital readout. And then you'll let up and then you'll press it again and hold it. And that will initiate or activate the electric reverse. So you just hold it down. It's a whole separate little electric motor with a different, you know, sprocket and belt on it. And then you just pull in the clutch, drop it back into first, and you're ready to take off again. So it works really well. You know, it's only got 1 speed going back, just real slow. But it's definitely a lifesaver if you find yourself parts face down on an incline. So yeah, once again, the bike just has to be in neutral. The bike has to be running. The engine has to be on. You'll hold down the R above the horn. The yellow light will illuminate on the dash. You then let off and then press it back again and hold it, and then the electric reverse will kick in. So it's not part of the same transmission of the bike. It's a whole separate electric motor that kicks you into reverse. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. If I helped you out, give me a thumbs up on the video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. As always, if you're looking to buy this or any other Harley-Davidson in the Southern California area, please reach out to me. You can direct message me here or on Instagram, or send me an email, or make an inquiry into the dealership. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.